leaders for fly fishing have existed in some form for the past 3 centuries or more. The modern generation is known for its delicate presentation and versatility. As with tying flies and making bamboo fly rods, many anglers are choosing to craft their own. This videotape was produced in Mercer, Maine with a digital video camera and iMovie software on an iMac. It is intended to serve as the visual accompaniment to written directions or as a follow-up to hands-on instruction in making one form of furled leader. Please use appropriate safety techniques if you try this at home. Hi, I'm Kathy Scott. I'm certainly not an expert on furled leaders, but I've had the good fortune to have some great people show me a really easy way to make them, and that at least I can pass along to you. As far as what you need to make furled leaders, a lot of it you might have around home anyway. I started out with a basic 2x6, this one right here, and a few pegs. But I'll go through each of the pieces and you can see what you have and what you can improvise. Improvise is the key to the whole thing. First you're going to need some thread. I use 6/0 waxed unithread, usually an olive or rusty dun, maybe even gray, although yellow is nice to match silk lines and orange is great for leaders used for nymphing. Some people use monofilament, some people use silk, some people even use fluorocarbon. You're going to need a pair of sharp scissors. You're going to need a drill of some kind fitted with a cup hook. This is a small cup hook. Some people glue these onto personal fans instead of using a whole drill, but a drill is what I had. You're going to need some way to fix about 3 ounces of weight to the end of your leader. I just use an S hook and a 3-ounce weight. You're also going to need some way to secure the thread to the end peg. You can use masking tape or you can use a clamp. When your leader is finished and you pull the loops off the board, you might want to secure them with a dab of super glue, or you can make a furled end to your leaders by using a simple nit picker, a couple of paper clips, and something for weight. The furled leader board, again, can vary with whatever you have on hand. This was just a 2x6. We put a couple pegs at this end, about 3 inches down. There's a peg 18 inches down from the top peg on this side. Another 24 inches down, a peg is even with the top peg on the other side. And another 24 inches down, there's a peg at the bottom. So it goes about 18 inches, 24, and 24. This line is about 10% of the distance between the top and the bottom pegs. That's about how far you need to shrink the legs in order to furl the leader. This new board is made of mahogany. It's a little bit heavier and a little bit longer, and just kind of points out the versatility and the forgiving nature of making this particular type of leader. Okay, so to start, take your thread and you need to make some kind of a loop in the end. I just make an overhand knot like this. Just wrap it around my finger, pull it a little bit loose and slip the loop through. Any kind of a loop will do. Pull it tight. Put it on the first peg, the peg on this side. Don't worry if this is hard. Sometimes making these little loops is the hardest part. And then trim off that tag end. Okay, and now we're going to start building the taper. Remember, at this end, we're going to want 10 threads. So half of them will be in this leg. So we're going to start here. There's 1, go around the outside of the peg. There's 2 threads. That makes 3. There's 4. And here's the 5th peg right here, or the 5th thread. And now we're going to go down to the far peg, all the way around. This will be the tip end of the leader, and it wants the fewest number of threads. In this case, we're going to have 6. So there's 1 on either leg right now. We're going to go around the end here. There's 2 on this leg, back around the end. Now there's 4, and I'm going to go up through. This is pretty important. The whole thing will fall apart unless you thread it through and link this part of the leader to this part of the leader. So we're going to take the spool of thread and we're going to drop it over one side of this leg, one side of the loop, and under the other side of the loop, like that. Okay, and now the bottom is tied to the top. This will be the butt and this will be the tip eventually. Remember, we have 5 threads here. We had 2 here. This is the third. And we're going to come around here. Okay, we have 3 here and 3 here. Remember, we only needed 6. So this end of the leader is essentially done. Now we're going to go up past this peg all the way up to the top. That's 1 thread. Here's 2. Remember, we want to build 5 on this side. And when we go here again, we're going to tie the 2 loops together. So we're going to drop the thread over one and under the other one when we go around the peg. Back up, that's the 3rd thread. There's 4. And you try and keep it just a little bit taut the whole time, but if you mess up a little and it's not even, it's alright, you can balance it out later. Again, we're going to tie it through here and go back up, and that's our 5th thread. So we're done. I'm going to pull out about 10 inches and clip that off, and then make that same kind of a knot to loop over this end. Wrap it around my finger. I don't know why this is the hardest part for me, but it always is. Alright, there's a little loop. Better your loop is too long than too short. If it's too long, you can just even it out throughout the length of the leader. If it's too short, there's nothing you can do but start over. Clip off the tag end. Don't clip the actual leader or you get to start over again. And then I usually run my fingers the length of it just to smooth everything out. Now we have 3 threads here and 3 here. That makes 6 for the tip. We have 5 here, but still only 3 here. That's 8. That's 8 for the middle. And 5 here and 5 here, that's 10. When these go together, we'll have a 10, 8, 6 taper. Now I'm going to put some weight on this end. I'm going to use a 3-ounce weight. You don't have to buy one. It looks just like this. Anything that weighs about 3 ounces will do. And I'm going to affix it so that when you spin this leg, it doesn't travel around the end and spin up the other leg. You can use masking tape or a clamp like this. Clamp it right to the thread right on the peg. To spin it, you need 2 push pins. I usually keep mine right here. And I'll use a drill like this. You can use a small personal fan, you can use whatever you want. I like to use a drill with a small cup hook. And what you want to do is snag this loop, but don't pull it off the peg quite yet. Instead, insert the push pin where the peg is at the moment, right in there, so that it's a placeholder when you pull it off the peg. So now I'm going to keep it taut and pull backwards and up. And I can just let go of this push pin. It won't go anywhere. I need to pull it off this peg, so I'm just going to raise it up. And when I do, it's going to go backwards just a little bit. So you want to be prepared to pull back on your drill. So I'm going to pull it up like that. Keep the whole thing taut. And now I need to spin it. I need to reduce it about 10% of its length. I have a piece of cork right here to mark that for me. If you keep it a little bit taut, the push pin won't fly out. If it does fly out, you can just put it back in. But you want to maintain about the same amount of tension on both sides, and that's a very good way to gauge it, is by tapping it to see if it's just right, and if you're too loose, it will fly out. If you're too tight, the whole thing will blow, and you don't want that either. Here we go. If the pin starts to migrate, just stop. Pull it back up toward the cup hook, and this time put a little bit more tension on it. Now I'm just going to tap it every once in a while to make sure it's the tension that I want. Keeping my eye on the push pin. At first it's hard to even talk when you're doing this. After a while it gets very easy. This will make roughly a 5.5 foot leader, which will easily turn over 4 feet of 5X tippet. Great for presentation with dry flies. We've almost reduce this leg to 10%. It's getting pretty even with my line. So I'm going to stop it right here with the push pin pointing down and just put the push pin right back into my hole, hold it, and slip out the cup hook. Now this leg is all done, and you have to keep it in tension or it will just curl right up on you. And we need to reduce this leg now by 10%. So it's going to be the same thing. I'm going to snag the end of the loop right at the back of the peg, but not take it off the peg yet. Take a push pin and put it right where the peg will be to kind of hold the place, right where the peg was to hold the place. Pull it up like that, and now I can let go and it's going to hold it right there. Now I have to work my way down and pull it off this peg. And remember, it's going to jump back just a little bit, which it did, but I kept up with it by pulling back on the drill. And now we can spin this one roughly 10% of its length shorter. Remember to keep tension on it. Remember to tap it every once in a while to make sure it's staying just taut. Some time has gone by and this leg is getting shorter. It's almost equal to the other leg. So we're going to stop right here. This time I usually leave the push pin pointing up, and what I'm going to do is pull the push pin away from the cup hook to create a gap in between. And I'm going to slip that gap down over the other push pin so that both legs will be on the same push pin. So there I'm going to pull it apart, and there's kind of a gap in there. And then I'm going to put that on the push pin. I'm not going to let go with my cup hook because it gives me the greatest control in case I mess something up here. But I'm going to just pull out this push pin. I'm okay to here. Make sure this one is really secure. And now I'm going to take off my cup hook. Now both legs are together on the same push pin. The next step is going to be to take the clamp off the other end and tilt the board so that I can pull out this push pin and hold it high in the air and let the leader furl with the weight on the end. Okay. You have to take the clamp off this end. Then I'm going to rotate the board. Just for safety's sake, I'm going to keep my thumb on this push pin so it doesn't accidentally come out. I'm going to use my toe to hold the board. And then I'm going to pull off the leader. Keeping it tight the whole time, and don't let it get in your hair, your beard, your clothing, your dog. And now it's going to spin. It's going to furl itself. It'll go quite a ways in one direction, quite a while, and then it'll stop and go back the other direction, and then it'll stop and go back the other direction. And that's when you know it's done. That's also why you have the push pin, because unless you just want to stand here and hold this, it's pretty handy to just stick it in some convenient rafter and let it do this by itself. Once the leader is calmed down a little bit and stops spinning, I usually take the weight off and it'll spin a little bit more. Then I usually replace the S-hook with a paper clip, which is handy for the next step in the process. Once you take the leader down, you could just put a drop of super glue here and here to hold the end loops open. But they're very small if you do that, so there's kind of a better way. These end loops have been furled. It's not hard to do, although it took me a couple of times to learn, but I'll show you how to do that now. This is called a knit picker. You can buy it at Walmart or Joann Fabric. The difference between it and a crochet hook is it has this little gate right here, which is very handy. What you do is on the butt end, I usually start with the butt end because it's bigger. I'm going to open up the leader right here and pull the loop end through the leader, creating an arch. The arch will be the eventual furled end. Once I've pulled this loop through, I'm just going to thread the other loop through and pull it tight. To do that, open up the knit picker like this. Put your finger on the leader and just twist it backwards a little bit. And that should be enough to let you slip the knit picker through. Then, if you just slip the knit picker through the loop right next to the push pin and close the little gate and hold it closed with your finger, the end loop can't get away. At that point, I like to take something and weight down the arch that's in between. Remember, this area right here is going to be your new end loop. So we'll just weight that down so we don't lose it somehow. Okay, again, have your gate open and just pull the end loop right off the push pin. And then pull it through the leader. So now we have the original end loop of the butt, what will be the eventual end loop, the arch, and the only thing we have left to do is to thread the other end through. The other end was where the S-hook used to be, and I replaced it with a paper clip. So when I push this paper clip through here, I'm essentially pushing through the other end loop. You can let go with your knit picker at that point once you have your paper clip through. And just keep pulling until you've pulled the whole leader through. If it binds up a little bit, don't worry about it, just keep working it. And when you pull it taut, it'll eventually just knot itself, and that's it. And now the end loop, where you would attach it to your line with a loop-to-loop connector maybe, is set. It can't go away, it can't disappear on you, that knot will hold. If you don't want a loop-to-loop connector, then just ignore this and nail knot, whatever, blood knot, this leader to your line and then just clip off the end loop. But the loop-to-loop works pretty well, especially these furled ones. I'll show you how to do it on the other end. This end is a little bit harder. This is the butt end, but this is the tip end, and it's quite small. It's so small that I even have trouble opening it up sometime. But we do it the same way. Remember, you just want to open the leader, put something here to hold the arch open, and pull the tip loop right through the leader where you opened it. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to put my finger right here to hold it open and turn it backwards just a little bit. And there, I've got the knit picker through the leader. And I'm going to put this piece of bamboo rod where my arch is. And even now, it's going to be hard to thread this through here. So I have this little tool I use. It's really just a paper clip. And I don't know how well you can see, but what I'm going to do is just open the loop just a little bit more here where the knit picker goes through. So it's nice and wide. And then I can reach around and easily thread the paper clip through. At that point, you don't need your knit picker, you don't need anything. Okay, so the original loop is through the leader. It's still right here. This will be our new loop, and now all we have to do is thread the butt end loop through the tip end loop, both originals. To do that, I'm going to use the knit picker because it just makes life so much easier. I'm going to stick it through the tip end loop, hold on to the butt end loop, and I'm just going to close the little door so that I don't lose it. Pull it through, and at this point I don't even need this paper clip anymore. I'm just going to thread it right off here. And all I have to do is pull my whole leader through again, this time pulling it through the tip end loop until it pulls up taut, and there it is, a furled end loop that will stay open for you. And you can just change your tippets from there on out. So this is what you end up with, a furled end loop on the tippet end, a furled end loop on the line end, and about 5.5 feet of leader. Well, that's about it. If you have any questions, feel free to drop me a line. Maybe I could help. Otherwise, good luck.